Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Perfect Pup podcast. My name is Devin. I'm super excited for another episode, and today we're going to be talking about timing in dog training, why that's important, and how just by being aware of your timing and how you're marking and giving rewards, how it can help increase the speed at which your dog learns. So that's what we're going to be diving into for today's episode. For today's Pupdates, I thought this was a really cool article. The headline or the title of the article is "Supporting Your Dog's Psychological Needs Can Boost Your Own Well-Being and Reduce Distress." And basically the article talks about how when we are, as pup parents, when we're trying to meet our dog's psychological needs, it can boost our own well-being, make us happier, make us feel more fulfilled, those types of things. And I've found that to be true in my life. I think that's a really cool part about having dogs is that it's like mutually beneficial to each other, right? Like you improve your dog's life, your dog improves your life, and it's this awesome, amazing cycle that is having a dog. Okay, so let's get into today's episode. Again, like I mentioned in the introduction, we're going to talk about timing and dog training. First off, I want to kind of explain what I mean when I'm talking about timing. So every time that you are training your dog, and you're working on behaviors, or whether it's a formal training session or more of an impromptu one, there are these moments that are happening in which the more precise that you are, the more beneficial your training can be. So, when you ask your dog when you ask your dog to lay down, and they lay down, and you mark that behavior instantly as soon as they lay down, it gives them a better understanding of, oh, this is what my pup parent is rewarding me for. So let's kind of dissect that a little bit. Again, when I say marking, what I mean by that is when you ask your dog for a behavior, that's often called the cue, right? You're cueing your dog to do something specific, whether it's laying down, come when called, whatever it might be, wait, etc. So that's the cue. And then as they do the behavior, as the second it happens, you want to be marking that behavior. And by marking, we mean giving a distinct word, sound, something that lets your dog know that's what I wanted. That is the specific thing that I was looking for. You can do this in a couple ways, marking. You can do it with a word. Many people will use yes or good or, whatever you want it to be. The important thing is to just be consistent with the word that you use. Another way to do it is with a clicker. So you've maybe seen a dog training clicker. It's just kind of usually like a teardrop shaped little thing, sometimes circular. It looks like it has a little button on it. You click it and it makes kind of a noise, something like that. And it's very distinct. It's easily discernible by dogs. And again, the advantages of a clicker is that it's consistent, number one, right? Because when you think about your own voice and how you talk and how different things are, sometimes depending on your mood, you're going to talk differently, depending on where you're at, depending on if you're around people, you might not, you might talk more quietly or louder. And so the advantage of a clicker is that it creates that consistency of this sound indicates what you just did was correct, and now you're going to be rewarded for it. And so when we're talking about timing in dog training, that is what one of the strongest reasons that trainers and people advocate for clicker training, because it allows you to be more precise in your timing. If you just think about, the way that our brains work or the way that you function on a day-to-day basis, when you get in that training mode with your dog, you're going to be watching them. You ask them to do a rollover or whatever, and they roll over, and in your mind, you're so excited. And then you've got to think of the word oh, yes, good rollover, or whatever how you're marking it. But with the clicker, you're able to, the second it happens, it's just a little bit quicker. There's less thinking on our end. It becomes more instinctual for us as the trainer to just, give that click. And then your dog knows, okay, that's when the behavior is done correctly. The treat is going to come. So that is why, or that is kind of what I mean when I'm talking about timing and dog training. And I want to talk about why it's important. So here's two reasons. Number one, it can speed up the rate at which your dog learns if done correctly. And number two, it helps you be, sorry, it's a little bit hot in here. If you're watching video, I'm like sweating a little bit. It's hot where I'm at. It's like 98 degrees today. And then the second reason is that it allows you to shape behaviors. And I'll dive into each of these respectively. So number one, speeding up the rate at which your dog learns. What I mean by that is, it doesn't mean if you're going to start using a clicker that your dog's just going to be like Wonder Dog and learn everything instantly. That's not how it works. What I mean is, the reason that we want our timing to be spot on and to be as efficient as possible is because if you are clearer and more direct with your dog as to what they did that is getting them the treat, the reward, the reinforcement, the more likely they're going to be to do that again. And so again, the advantage of that clicker or using your, a marker word, the advantage is, if you can get that timing spot on so that as soon as it happens, you're there marking it, it helps your dog understand, okay, that's what happened. That's why I need to do this. So in turn, it can improve the speed at which your dog learns because, when you're marking it consistently, it helps them understand very clearly, okay, this is what is wanted of me. And the second reason is you can use it to help shape behaviors. So let me break down what I mean by that. So if you're teaching a behavior like place, for example, you want your dog to go to a mat or to a rug or their bed or whatever it be, and you want to be able to say, okay, place, and they go and they lay down and they calm down. Typically, you do this in steps and you shape the behavior little by little in incremental steps. So what I mean by that is like, you're not just going to go put your dog on the bed and then mark and then give treats and say place. Like, you can go that route, but what most people will do is they will, lure their dog on to the place. And as soon as their front paws touch, they're going to mark that. And that starts the wheels turning in the dog's brain of like, okay, when my paws got on this bed, I'm getting rewarded. And they're going to do that a few times. And then they're going to get it. They're only going to start marking and rewarding when all four paws are on the bed. And then incrementally, they're going to do it until once their dog lays down. That's what will get the mark. And so the efficient timing in your marks and your rewards gives you the ability to kind of slowly build your dog up to a more complex behavior. You'll see this a lot with trick training as well. If you've checked out the trick training course that's part of the Pupdate Academy that was taught by Amber Akar, you see that kind of shaping happening where, when you're wanting your dog to touch something on the wall, like you start with a sticky note in your hand, and then when they touch that, you're marking it and rewarding, and then you're shaping that behavior, incrementally building up to where they're doing the full trick or behavior that you're desiring of them. So the timing in dog training, those are the two main reasons it's important to you and why you should care. So here's how we do it. I think number one is practice, right? And just with anything in life, it takes time, it takes practice, it takes effort to understand and to get better at things. So, just like if you played the piano, at first you learn chords and then you learn how to blend the chords together. I don't play piano, so I know it a little bit, but I'm kind of, if I'm making this sound terrible and you are someone who's very skilled at piano, I'm sorry. But essentially, you learn notes and then you learn chords and then you learn how to blend the chords together, right? Like, you don't just sit down and, you might hear a song, you might understand what you want to accomplish, but might not be very good at it. And then even once you learn the song and you can, you make mistakes, you stumble your way through it, you keep practicing, and eventually it all flows together. It all blends together. It's just one movement. It's fluid. It's what your instincts tell you to do, essentially. And it's the same thing with training our dogs. We just need to practice. The idea behind, training your dog for 20 to 30 minutes every day, obviously it's for your dog. Obviously it's to improve your dog's behavior. But part of it is we as the humans just need to practice, because when you look at these dog trainers who have been doing it for years and years, it looks like second nature to them. And that's because it is, because they've been training dogs for a very long time and they know when to get the timing right. So above all, you just need to practice. You need to be working on your skills as a trainer. I think we get hung up on, oh, my dog won't do this, or it's so frustrating that my dog does that. Like, I need to teach them, they need to figure out, I need to train them. It needs to stop, blah, blah, blah. And we get hung up on that when we forget to look at ourselves first and say, am I doing the best job that I can at training my dog? Am I practicing? Am I watching videos or going and watching other dog trainers and saying, wow, this is how they're doing it. Maybe I can apply that. So that's one of the big things. It's just practicing. And then number two is being aware. So if you leave this podcast episode with like one takeaway to how to improve your timing in dog training, it's to think about it. Don't get hung up on it. Don't let it be the only thing you think about, but just to think of, okay, I want to try this training session to be more precise on when I'm marking correct behaviors. And just having that mindset and saying, okay, this is what I'm going to focus on during this session, you will see improvements. And you might start to realize like, oh my goodness, I think that I'm there and ready, but like sometimes I'm a couple seconds behind, and that delay can cause, it just is not as efficient. And my one other, so those are the two things you can do for how to improve your timing and training is number one, practice, and number two, being conscious of it, just making it part of your thought process as you train. And if you want to really fast track, improving your timing in dog training, on top of just continuing to practice more and more, you need to go check out other trainers. Watch seasoned trainers who use positive reinforcement, especially ones who use clicker training, and watch how quickly they are moving from giving the cue, marking, rewarding, onto the next behavior. Because if you think about, 1 minute of your dog training session, if you're able to get 2 good marks and rewards, that's great. But if you can kind of improve your efficiency and double that to even 4, if you get 4 correct behaviors in a minute, you're speeding up that rate at which your dog's learning because they're getting more practice, because dog training is so much about repetition for our dogs, right? To really ingrain those behaviors, you need a lot of instances of them getting the reward, the positive reinforcement for what they're doing correctly. So I hope this episode is helpful for you. I know that for myself, with my dogs, when I focus on that timing, when I focus on really being aware of when I'm marking those behaviors and giving that reward, it can speed things up. It makes me feel more efficient. It gets the session just happening more smoothly. And that's what we all want. We all want smoother training sessions, because at the end of the day, the point of our training sessions is to improve our dog's behavior. And so if they're more efficient, if the sessions are more efficient, and you're getting more accomplished and helping your dog learn at a quicker rate, that is what we want. So again, and if you want to start learning more about clicker training, there's a lot of resources online. Here at Pupford, we do offer clickers that you can buy on the website. And I just want to make a simple request from all of you listeners. Please leave a review in the app, wherever you're listening to your podcast, whether it's on Apple Podcasts, Google, wherever it is, Stitcher, Spotify. I don't know. I'm not sure if you can leave reviews on Spotify, but leave a review if you can. We read them all. We take them to heart. If you have feedback, if you have ideas, if you have a certain topic that you'd like to hear in a podcast episode, leave that in a review, and we would be so appreciative. It really helps this podcast grow and helps us to continue to put out more dog training content. So hopefully you found this helpful. And again, go out, train your dog, focus on that timing, and keep practicing. Above all, keep practicing. Thanks so much for listening today, and we will catch you guys next time.